The sun of the frontier world burned low over the jagged ridges as the young human worked along the metallic hull of the survey skimmer. His hands moved with calm precision while he adjusted cracked conduits and realigned the fractured stabilizer. To anyone watching, he appeared to be nothing more than a quiet apprentice assigned to menial tasks. He answered with short phrases and rarely raised his voice. Most assumed he had little ambition beyond service work and quiet days at the outpost. Only a few noticed the way he stood with natural balance, or how he scanned horizon with awareness that came from something deeper than training. He did not speak of the past and did not encourage questions. He simply worked. The princess arrived at the outpost that same evening. Her guards surrounded her with gleaming armor and polished spears. She was heir to the ruling house of her world, and well known for her curiosity and sharp intellect. She cared deeply for her people and traveled the frontier to understand the lands her family governed. Yet even she looked past the human apprentice when she first saw him beside the skimmer. Her guards barely nodded in his direction. She offered him polite greeting, but her mind moved quickly toward her mission and the strange sightings reported across the ridges. The outpost commander briefed her in the common hall. Reports told of large predators altering their movements and pack structures. Hunters vanished in the valleys. Scanners caught irregular thermal signatures. Something had changed in the wild ecosystems, and her duty was to verify the safety of her citizens. She listened with disciplined focus and prepared to leave for the ridge the following morning. She needed a fast craft for the journey, and the skimmer was the only one, ready for launch. But the outpost lacked the pilot, and her guards were unfamiliar with frontier craft. The commander suggested the human apprentice, who had been repairing it. The princess looked uncertain. He seemed far too young for such a responsibility. He carried himself with humility rather than bravado, and she doubted he had flown beyond basic algorithms. Still, the situation allowed no delay. She agreed to bring him solely because she needed the craft operational. In her mind, he was simply support personnel who would remain seated while she gathered the data. She needed Dot. He rose before dawn and prepared the skimmer with silent focus. He did not complain when assigned as her temporary pilot. She boarded with her guards, and the craft lifted smoothly into the pale morning. She watched him from behind while he operated the controls. His hands moved with fluid familiarity that did not fit the role of an apprentice, but she dismissed the thought. Anyone could learn procedures with enough repetition. She focused on the ridge ahead. Dot. As they traveled deeper into the frontier, the scanners registered unusual disruptions. The land below showed trenches carved by claws, larger than any native species. Pack signals clustered in unnatural patterns. Even the airborne predators circled wide, as if pushed from their territories. The princess frowned and adjusted the parameters on the holographic map. Her people had long studied this ecosystem. Nothing like this had been recorded. They landed near the ridge and moved on foot. The air held a strange stillness. Every sound echoed sharply. Her guards formed a protective perimeter while she collected samples from the ravaged soil. The human apprentice accompanied them, but kept a distance, constantly scanning the surroundings. The princess assumed he was simply nervous. She did not know the truth. Several hours passed before they heard the first roar. It came from deep within the canyon, low and powerful. Her guards formed a shield line and motioned for her to stand back. She ordered calm and checked her sensors. Something massive approached, far larger than any predator native to the region. The roar came again, louder and closer. The canyon walls vibrated. At that moment, the human apprentice spoke for the first time with real authority. He told them to retreat to higher ground and to avoid forming tight formations. His tone carried quiet certainty. The guards hesitated. The princess hesitated. He continued with precise instructions. They did not understand how he knew these tactics, but something in his voice compelled trust. The ground trembled beneath their feet. The creature emerged from the canyon in a blur of muscle, claws, and armored hide. It towered above them with predatory intent. Behind it came others, each one larger and more aggressive than the last. These were not native animals. They were apex beasts from another region, perhaps even another world, forced across territories by unknown pressures. Their presence explained the disturbances. Their size and ferocity made escape nearly impossible. The guards raised their spears and shields. The princess stood behind them, with determination carved into her face. She was prepared to defend her people. Yet she had never faced predators like this. Even the bravest warriors would falter. The apprentice stepped forward. He moved with speed that defied his assumed role. He placed himself between the beasts and the group with deliberate calm. The princess called for him to fall back, but he did not retreat. Instead, he focused on the lead beast with unwavering eyes. The creature charged. Dust exploded beneath its feet, and its roar shook the ridge. The apprentice advanced directly toward it. The princess gasped. Her guards shouted warnings. But the moment the creature closed the distance, something unexpected happened. The apex predator slowed. Its roar faltered. It hesitated, as if sensing something hidden beneath his calm exterior. The beast lowered its massive head and stepped sideways. Its pack followed, each one backing away from the human rather than attacking. The ridge fell silent, no one moved. The princess stared in disbelief. Her guards exchanged stunned glances. Even the creatures seemed unsure, scanning the human with primal recognition. The apprentice kept his stance until the entire pack retreated back into the canyon. Only when the last beast vanished did he release a slow breath. The princess approached him carefully. She demanded to know how he had done that. He answered with honesty. He was not simply an apprentice. He had been trained from childhood by a human defensive order, renowned for their mastery of calm presence, instinct, and control. His lineage could influence the behavior of hostile creatures through posture and focus. It was a rare skill. He had left that world seeking quiet purpose. He had hoped no one would notice. The frontier outpost offered anonymity and the simplicity he desired. He never intended to draw attention. The princess listened, astonished. She realized she had judged him solely by appearance. She had thought him timid, ordinary, and inexperienced. Now she saw a man who carried strength quietly and chose humility over recognition. She thanked him for saving her guards and for preventing a deadly conflict. Her voice carried sincerity. They began their return journey, but the ridge was far from safe. The predators were not aggressive by instinct. Something must have forced them into migration. The princess insisted they uncover the cause. The apprentice agreed after a moment of contemplation. This world was now his home too. Protecting it aligned with his principles. They investigated deeper into the frontier, following the patterns of disrupted territories. The land grew wilder. Strange metallic residues appeared along the soil. Trees bore marks from tools rather than claws. Eventually, they found unnatural structures embedded in the cliff walls. Someone or something had been experimenting on the predators, enhancing them and manipulating their instinctive behavior. The princess understood the political implications. If an unknown faction had deployed these experiments on her lands, it would endanger her entire kingdom. She contacted the outpost, but static interference prevented communication. The apprentice examined the structures and identified them as part of a controlled behavioral array used to agitate and redirect wildlife. He dismantled several components with precision while explaining their function. The princess realized his skill extended beyond physical discipline. His knowledge encompassed survival engineering, ecological balance, and tactical reasoning. They moved cautiously inside the largest chamber. Dim lights glowed along the corridor. Deep rumbling echoed from unseen machinery. They found a group of operators working with strange equipment. These individuals were not from any allied world. They wore sleek suits and moved with mechanical precision. Their presence confirmed the theory. A covert operation sought to weaponize the predators. The princess stepped forward and declared her authority. The operators turned with hostility. Weapons emerged. Her guards formed a protective ring, but the apprentice stood at the front again. He observed the room and moved toward the nearest control panel. The operators attacked. What followed convinced the princess forever that he was no ordinary apprentice. He moved without wasted motion. Every step carried balance. Every shift of weight served a purpose. He dodged and redirected strikes with skill honed over years. He disarmed one attacker, subdued another, and used their weapons only to disable equipment rather than harm lives. His movements conveyed discipline rather than aggression. The guards fought with courage, but even they watched him with awe. The operators attempted to launch the remaining array to unleash another wave of predators. The apprentice reacted instantly. He leaped toward the core console, halted the sequence, and shut down the chamber. The structure hummed in silence. The remaining operators retreated through emergency tunnels, unwilling to face him again.